Then Tony Arnold is PR director of the Tri-State Free Thinkers. This is about a press release put out by the Americans United, announces support for legislation designed to blunt the effects of Hobby Lobby ruling. Congress must act to protect women's access to birth control, says a church-state watchdog group. And Tony Arnold, welcome to the Bill Cunningham Show. Tony, how are you?
I am well. Thanks for having me on, Mr. Cunningham.
All right, tell me from your perspective, as I understand it, you think this ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court, pursuant to a law signed into effect by Bill Clinton in 1993, was wrong. Why is that? The interpretation is wrong, basically. Those were two totally separate issues. What's happening now is the ruling is basically taking into effect the superstitions of a profitable company, a for-profit company, to legislate women's health care and legislate what they will and will not cover with regard to the Affordable Health Care Act. I'm not here to debate whether or not I agree with the Affordable Health Care Act or not, but these are stipulations set forth across the board for corporations. The owner of the company has certain beliefs, certain prejudices based on these beliefs or superstitions. Some call them beliefs, some call them superstitions, and they are forcing people to be denied certain health care coverages based on the owner's beliefs or superstitions. Senators Patty Murray and Mark Udall have introduced a protective health protection from Women's Health Care Corporate Interference Act to basically kind of stifle some of the effects on this. And we've had the conversation, and I've heard you talk about the effects being minimal, and they are minimal to you and to the majority of people who aren't affected or who do not work for Hobby Lobby or for these types of organizations. But, for a person who uses these birth controls for different means, menstruation regulation, these birth control options offer a lot more than just the birth control itself. Well, Tony, because you're involved, you surely understand that of the 20 approved methods of contraception and abortion approved under the Affordable Care Act, 16 of the 20 are part of Hobby Lobby's health care plan for female employees. So we're only talking about 4 of 20 that Hobby Lobby and science seems to indicate may cause an abortion. So this is not about birth control pills or controlling one's menstrual flow, because that's certainly permissible by Hobby Lobby. It is about 4 of the 20 that may cause an abortion. Do you think abortion is contraception?
That remains to be seen. That there's scientific arguments there for and against that. My issue with this bill being passed is that it's the restrictions are not based on science. The restrictions are based on the beliefs of the owner of this company, his superstitions, his beliefs. That's where the problem, and it's very selective as well. Say for instance, a Muslim person owns a company. Can he regulate whether or not, heart valves from pigs are allowed to be used?
Well, the answer would be no, because Samuel Alito's majority opinion talked about the balancing test. That is, if you're a Jehovah's Witness and you own a business and you don't want to provide blood transfusions, you have to balance on one hand the harm to the employee, which would be death, as opposed to the other, which is a blood transfusion, which many people consider to be medically acceptable. If you're a Muslim and you own a business and you have a health care plan and a heart valve or a synthetic valve, you're dealing down on one hand with the death of the employee. Samuel Alito says the balancing test would indicate that the harm to Hobby Lobby would be about $875,000 per year per female employee as a fine by the federal government, as opposed to a $9 or $10 a month medical procedure that the employer whose employee is female could pay, or the federal government could pay. Planned Parenthood has a sliding scale. The government supports Planned Parenthood. If a woman wants a Plan B drug, which is one of the 20, once again, Hobby Lobby agrees to 16 of the 20, which is Plan B, which can be abortion,
Planned Parenthood can pay for it. The employee herself can pay for it, or the federal government can pay for it. So on one scale, when you get to this argument about heart valves and get to the argument about blood transfusions, the employer would lose those cases, is what Judge Alito's opinion said. The employer would lose.
Is that opens up whether or not the ruling is prejudicial towards other religions. Basically, the balancing act, whether or not this is balanced towards one particular belief over another. And that's where this ruling fails. I mean, already we've had some cases where cases that had been previously thrown out of the system are attempting to be reestablished based on race. We almost elected a president whose religion only acknowledged black people in their church in the late 70s. Some of these prejudices, a lot of these prejudices still exist in religion. Of course, a lot of religions restrict women as far as, whether or not they're able to lead, whether they're able to, hold positions over men. That's where this ruling has some gray area here, and that's where they're attempting to kind of quell this a little bit. It needs to be discussed more. I realize it's already passed, and one thing that concerns me is these rulings like this always with the Supreme Court always tend to be 15, 20 years behind society. Obviously, we're moving forward, with the marriage equality. You see society being more acceptable of certain positions where they weren't acceptable previously. And of course the Supreme Courts, these judges are all elected from past presidents. I don't know how many Obama has elected, but that's where these rulings come from. We obviously have an overabundance of Catholics elected on the Supreme Court, and that while they're supposed to be unprejudiced in their rulings, I see where that their experience in life comes through in their rulings.
Well, Tony Arnold, as an atheist, when you use the term superstition, you're referring to the Catholic religion, the Jewish religion, Muslims who believe in God. That's all superstitions, in your opinion?
Well, I don't think they're science-based.
The answer is yes.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, basically, you think if you believe in God, you believe in Jesus, then you believe in some superstition, kind of like Bigfoot.
Well, Bigfoot's kind of trivializing what I'm saying. Obviously there are many different religions. Each of them have their own edicts as to what procedures you have to follow for the end result. What we're doing now is we're basing medical rulings, what we're covering and what we're not covering, based on that, based on what the owner thinks is the end result to his belief or
Well, Tony, let me ask you this then. I'm a male. I'm a member of a gender. Why do I have to pay in my personal health care plan for abortion? Why does Bill Cunningham have to pay for birth control pills? Why does Bill Cunningham have to pay for pediatric dentistry? Why does Bill Cunningham have to pay for mental health services? Why do I have to pay for alcohol addiction? In other words, the federal government makes me as a male pay for birth control pills. Isn't that wrong?
Well, that's because that's what the Affordable Health Care Act deemed. And as I stated, I'm not, I don't agree with everything that the Affordable Health Care Act stands for, but that is the law of the land, and we have to be based equally on that law. You have to establish a real reason. I understand that there were some restrictions and allowances made for religious organizations like the Catholic Church, Catholic hospitals, organizations that had already been established, and organizations that are run as a non-for-profit organization. You cannot allow businesses, for-profit businesses, to make changes based
sure you can.
on your own. What should happen? Should the owner have some sort of a Damascus moment on a plane from one business meeting to the other and decide that he's turned Muslim?
Well, in that case, it's a balancing. Tony, look this way. The First Amendment says Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion, nor prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Didn't Congress prohibit the free exercise of the religion of Hobby Lobby, the Green family? Didn't they do that?
Absolutely not.
They didn't.
It does not prohibit him from participating in or from believing in, from spreading his religion. What he's done, what this ruling has done, has given him the ability to restrict laws that have been imposed equally upon everybody.
But the Constitution vetoes, in a sense,
religion.
If the founding fathers themselves in 1787 had this case, they would clearly say that the Green family has the prerogative within mainstream religious principles to prohibit abortions paid for by them. And as Alito says, the government can pay for them, Planned Parenthood can pay for them, or the employee herself can pay for it. But the Constitution says the Congress cannot make a man or a woman violate mainstream religious principles. They're not worshiping the sun. They're not worshiping a tree. These are mainstream religious principles that the United States Supreme Court upheld. That's all it is.
It is. It upholds mainstream. It also allows for prejudice against those who are not mainstream.
But then work somewhere else. Work somewhere else.
The government should not. I kind of agree. The government should not be in the healthcare business.
Not at all.
But
Shouldn't
it is
be.
right now. It is, and until it is voted or changed to. We have to follow rules across the board.
Well, we have to follow this. We have to follow the U.S. Supreme. Are you going to follow the U.S. Supreme Court decision? You talk about following rules. The United States Supreme Court has ruled. Are you going to follow their decision?
Well, of course we have to.
Good.
But there's nothing wrong with making attempts to alter or change those rules.
Well, when it's based upon the Constitution,
legislation intends to
Tony
do.
Arnold, what you got to do then is go amend the Constitution. Until you amend the Constitution, until you get 3/4 of the states and 2/3 of the House and the Senate, the Supreme Court has said what it is, and that's it. And when you call Christianity a superstition, do you know you're running against the grain of 250 years of American history and the fact that 95% of us are Christians? And when you call us superstitious, that doesn't make me feel too good.
Well, I would challenge those numbers, actually. At this present point in time, probably about, in our age group, probably about 20% claim to be none or have no religion. In the younger youth generation or the younger youth bracket, they're claiming about 30%. So this is a growing movement, based on every day you read about some odd change in the Catholic Church. Not just restricting it to Catholic Church. You read about the Catholic Church giving concessions. This is changing.
All right, Tony, we got to run. What's your website? Tony Arnold, what's your website?
You can find us at Tri-State Freethinkers through meetup.com. We have meetings on the first Wednesday of every month, and you can find information with this by searching the Murray-Udall Legislative Fix to Protective Health Care.
All right. Well, Tony, you're going to burn in hell for eternity, but I respect your viewpoint, but I don't think you're right.
Well, thanks, I think.
You will burn in hell.
All right. Have a good day.
Thank you. Let's continue with more. JC, John, Steve, many others. Did you know that Christianity, Judaism, Islam is a superstition? The Sikhs, you are a superstition. Really? Let's continue with more. Bill Cunningham. Continue now with JC on a cell, then many others. And JC, welcome to the Bill Cunningham Show. JC, how are you?
Bill, I'm good. Hey, first of all, I wanted to thank you for defending the Constitution and God. And wanted to touch on Tony and actually the bear. I haven't heard too much about the bear, but Tony, you summed it up pretty well with him. He's got a little time till next next month's Wednesday meeting to ponder going to hell and burning in hell. The only thing I would ask you to do, if you can, is provide the website again so folks can maybe send in some pictures of 10, 12, 14-week-old fetuses or blobs or masses or whatever.
Right.
That would give them a little brainstorming time, too, before next month's Wednesday meeting.
His name was Tony Arnold, and his group is Free Thinkers. Free Thinkers, and what they're seeking to do, which is a viewpoint held by maybe 5 or 10% of us, that religion has no part in America, that religion had no part in the founding of this country, that religion doesn't matter. And so when Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion, they agree with that. But then, nor shall it prohibit the free exercise thereof. If you own a business, like the Green family owns Hobby Lobby, never been there, likely never go there. But nonetheless, they have the right by the Constitution to practice their religion. Now, the courts have ruled for a long time that small businesses or large, business is also have rights, because I've owned small businesses and I've been a DBA, and I have the right to practice my religion within wide parameters. Now, if your religion says your employees can't get blood transfusions, I would dare say that Justice Alito's opinion would say the balancing test is that's wrong. If you would say, well, I'm a Muslim and my employees can't have a heart valve, that's a pig valve, the balancing test means you lose. But they want to ignore the Constitution, ignore the 1993 Freedom Religious Act signed by Bill Clinton, and impose upon us their atheistic beliefs, which the way this country is going, JC, that may happen at some point.
It's the twilight zone.
Yeah, things are happening now that I didn't think would ever happen in American society, and they're happening right now anyway. So he might win. He might win.
Well, look, I mean, a podiatrist appointment or a chiropractic appointment and killing a 10, 12, 14-week-old blob, whatever you want to call it, there's not much, you can't align those two. So the other thing too, so look, I'd love to see somebody sending pictures. Maybe they can brainstorm over that for the next 2.5 weeks. The other thing I wanted to touch.
Lastly, in 1973, when Roe versus Wade was put out by the Supreme Court, taking away from us, the people, the right to issue legislation by popular vote to adjust or to change or to have abortion being legal or illegal, things have changed medically significantly. There were no sonograms in 1973. I defy anybody to look at the picture of a 3 or 4 month old fetus and say that is not a child, that the heart is not beating, that the hands are not moving, that the eyes are not partially open, that the lungs are not breathing. Of course it is. Of course it is. And I have no doubt that if the United States Supreme Court, in the worst decision in their history outside of the Dred Scott decision in 1857, had said, this is a political matter, let the states decide it, I am certain we would have about half the states would have abortion and about half the states would not have abortion, and some other states would have some restrictions on abortion. Some would say in the first 8 weeks, some would say in the first 12 weeks, maybe some states would say never. And that's the way it's supposed to be. The 9th and 10th Amendment says in the U.S. Constitution that if a particular right, privilege, or immunity is not contained within the four corners of this document, it's up to the states or up to the people. You see, we were coming to a conclusion one way or another on abortion, much like we're going to come to a conclusion on gay marriage. I hope the U.S. Supreme Court stays out of the issue and let us decide. Let the people decide yay or nay on gay marriage. If a gay couple is married, it doesn't affect me too much at all. If a baby's aborted, that does affect me. That's a human life, completely different. But I hope, going forward, that the atheists and those do not twist and turn this Hobby Lobby decision into something it is not. It is not about birth control pills. The left wants to make it about birth control pills, which is supported by 95% of the American people, say that birth control pills or condoms should be available, and I support that 100%. They can't make it about what the decision is. So what they want to do is twist and turn lies into the truth and lead the easily misled into believing lies, that Hobby Lobby's about birth control pills. If abortions are contraceptives, then it is about that. But the Green family approved in their medical plan for their 100,000 employees 16 of the 20 methods approved by the Americans, the Unaffordable Careless Act. 16 of the 20 methods. The 4 they did not want to pay for were abortion-inducing drugs. And to me, that is not contraception.